Hey guys, welcome back to Thorough Capping. It's Dave. I wanted to piggyback on my last video where I introduced the newest grid or the newest model, which is I called the Recency model, and it's now one of the types of grids that are found in your Thorough Capping tutorial. And I had said that if you go and if you own the deluxe tutorial and you go in and just download the grids again, you'll now find the Recency model. And the Recency model, I explained it in depth in my last video, and what I want to do is I hand-picked 4 races from Santa Anita tomorrow, Saturday, September 30th, and I hand-picked the ones that weren't made into special weight races, because there are three or four made special weight races tomorrow with 2-year-olds that are lightly raced horses, and I also wanted to focus on mainly on the stakes races as well. The one stakes race that I did leave out is race number 9, which is on that 6.5 furlong downhill turf course. And that horses just fly on that. And if I can't pull numbers from every single entry from that particular course, then I pass those races, because it's the data is going to be so skewed. Because again, you got E2 ratings of like 110, 115. The late pace is high. And then you got other horses that are coming off 1 mile races on the turf, and we're looking at like 85 and 86 E2s, because again, that track is so fast from that straightaway coming out of the gate going downhill. Horses build up so much momentum. So what I did was I looked at race 5, race 6, race 8, 7th was a maiden special weight, and race 10. Okay, I got them scattered on my grids here. I'm still using the vertical model that I created, but in your TC Deluxe grid download, we have the horizontal model where the horses are across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But let's take a look at race number 5. Now, I found out something interesting here using this method. Using the recency model, the race number 6, race number 8, and race number 10 are all stakes races. And if you look, every horse has a TC rating of over 100 here. And then you look at race number 8, we're looking at all 100 plus horses. And then we're looking at race number 6, all 100 plus horses. Now race 5 is a $50,000 optional claimer. So we do have, if you base it on that theory, we do have 2 horses here that are stakes level horses, and they were coming out of stakes races. In fact, I even added some qualitative piece to this now. And I'm going to see how it works. I will eventually add the qualitative piece to the grids that are in the tutorial, but right now there's no qualitative piece to that. And all it does is it just adds another point to the TC rating after these factors are all figured in. The only 3 qualitative factors I focused on here were the class drops, next out or key race. If a horse came out of the key race, I would give that horse a 2 instead of a 1. And notice it bumped the TC rating up to 103, but let me delete that. And then we focused on moves in the race. And again, I labeled it TM, turn move, but I'm also looking at stretch moves as well. So really, when I add this portion to the actual thorough capping grids, I'm gonna title this RM, and that'll be called race. That'll be known as race moves. That way you can identify both turn and stretch moves. So let's look at race number 5. Race number 5, if we go strictly starting with TC rating, we got the 2 horses a standout at a 109, and he's also a standout across the board here with all these factors. But if you're playing devil's advocate and you're looking for a horse to beat that horse, this horse is the morning line favorite, the 2 horse. I think he's like 6 to 5, 7 to 5. Let's check him out real fast. We'll go to that race. Let me make this PP a little bit larger for you. And that was race number 5. Where are we at? Come on. There's 1. apologize, guys. I'm just trying to move fast here, and there it is. Yeah, the 2 is the 8-5 morning line favorite. But the 4 horse is also showing up. And he's a 12-1 morning line. And so is the 1 horse. The 1 horse is showing up. And they all, with the eye, they all pass the eye test as far as horses that have been running very well in recent form without looking at any numbers. I mean, you can see the 2 horses coming off a pretty good move on the turn. He lost a position but gained 3.5 lengths. The 4 horse as well, coming off a 1.5 length move on the turn. And he's also coming off a 1.5 length stretch move there. And he's 12-1 morning line. So it's a horse to keep an eye on. If we go back to our grids, again, the 4 shows up. The 4 is actually our target horse. I took the time to identify this as well. Actually, the 1 and the 4, because the 1 was an exceeder in ability, but he does match his. If I'm only using these 3 races to pull my ability from, I mean, there could have been a race further down in the past performances that was higher. But again, this model is focusing on recency. So out of the recency, the best target number out of the second and third races here would be our ability. Okay, and everything else we would be looking at as stale form. Okay, we'll look at it that way. This model takes into account that recent races are the most important, and anything before that, like we're talking like 9 months, a year, year and a half, looks at it as stale form. So we have different versions now, different models we can use in different grids that take different things into account. And this one's taken into account that the 3 most recent races that we can pull at today's distance, at today's surface, are the most important races, and they're the ones that we're going to focus on. So number 2, as we said, is the top horse here, obviously. But he's also the morning line favorite. And we look at the 4. The 4 is finishing second in overall TC. Is coming off a move. And he is showing up, and he's also co-target and co-ability with the 1 horse, who's also a long shot in the race as well. And we have the 3 horses also, or the 8 horse is also tied for ability. Now, if you're looking at this 1 horse, you're looking at the 2 horses and say, well, what about the 85 here? If you remember, when we're focusing on target ratings, we're still taking into account exceeders. Now, there may have been a race with that 2 that was further back, like way back. These horses aren't that old, so we're not going to be able to go way back. I wasn't able to pull anything from the European races here. So I only had 2 races to go by. So I had the 85 and I had the 80. And out of those 2 American races, this 85 exceeds the 80. So he gets bumped down technically to an 80 for a target rating if we were using the other models. The 4 horse, as we mentioned before. And then we also have the 8 horse showing up as an ability. And he's making a showing here as well. 4th in TC rating. So that race are, in no particular order, would be 1, 2, 4, and 8 in race number 5 at Santa Anita. Race number 6. Race number 6, we have the first stakes race. Once again, the 2 horse. And if you notice, look at the jump now in these ratings as we talked about. We moved to a stakes. This might be a good thing to watch out for if you're using this model and you're handicapping non-stakes races, such as this one here, and you see everybody below 100 and you see 1 or 2 horses that are above 100. Might be a good indication that it's a stakes level race. Just like the buyer ratings and the time form US figures, they all have their pars for different class levels. Well, we might be able to establish some sort of pars for class levels here as well when we start comparing enough low-level claimers to allowance races to optional claimers to non-graded stakes and so on. Might be able to find a horse that's doesn't fit into a particular race, whether it be the horse belongs in a higher level or belongs in a lower level, just by getting familiar with, you know, the ratings themselves. So let's take a look at race 6. Race 6. We have the 2-horse standing out in the averages here and in the overall TC. But then we have the 4-horse, who's kind of right behind, or the 3-horse, I'm sorry. The 2 and the 3. This can get confusing because everything, it would take up so much more space if I was putting spaces in between each of these horses. I mean, we'd be going all the way down here for 12 horses. So you got to keep an eye on where this 2-horse starts and where he ends. But the 3-horse, when we compare the odds here in race number 6, we have the 2-horse morning line 9-5, the 3-horse morning line 5-2. So because most people, including morning line odds makers, look at recency than recent form, recent form is going to dictate last out odds. And therefore, a lot of the morning line odds makers will look at a combination of different things. They'll look at the recent form based on the eye test, and they'll also do an average or comparison of what have been the odds that the horse has been going off at, and so on. So that's one of the drawbacks of this model. But at the same time, you're going to see that if you go 4 deep, you're going to eventually find yourself some value as well, like we did in this race. We found the 4-horse and the 1-horse are both double-digit morning line odds. And as you know, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee this 2-horse is going to come out and match his last out effort. And you might see the 1 or 4 steal in the race. Same thing over here. We have the 2 and the 3. We just showed the odds there. But the 4-horse is tops in 2 columns here, the target. He's also our ability horse. And he's also the top E2 rating. If you remember, the early speed is based off the E2 rating in on the Briz past performances. So let's take a look at the 4. The 4-horse might be an interesting look, and it's a 6-1 morning line. Okay, what I did was I tossed that last race out simply because maybe I didn't toss it. No, I didn't toss the last race out. I don't think. Let me check and see what 3, 15, 18, right, 10, 11, 13, 87. The 4-horse. No, 87. I used that race. So despite the fact that that was a poorly run race, the 2 races before that were enough to put this horse exactly where he is in the rankings right now, which is 3rd in overall TC. And then we look at the 9-horse is also eligible as well. And the 9-horse we're looking at morning line of 6-1. Okay, so again, going 4 deep, you're still going to be able to find your value. But at the same time, there's another good thing is with the percentage that favorites win races, there's almost a guarantee that this model is also going to land on the favorite every time as well. Whereas some of the other models, when you're looking at different factors while reaching a little bit deeper into past performances, there's been times where we've come up with top 4 horses and the favorite hasn't even been in them top 4 simply because of all those qualitative factors that we looked at in the older model. And we gave points for trainer notations and everything else. Sometimes those favorites got buried. And if you were basing your plays simply off your grid, sometimes you may be leaving a favorite out that you should have had, that you could have had a trifecta, where the favorite comes in 3rd with 2 value horses on top and you don't have them. So this at least points and justifies why a horse is a favorite in a race. Race number 8, we have a standout in the 3 here, obviously. I'm going to move on a little quicker here. We got the 3, the 1, the 4, and the 9. Okay. If we look at those odds in that race, that was race number 8. 3 is, and if you notice, doing it this way, there's no handicapping on the past performance. If you can just do the target ratings in your head and put them down and then do the addition for the target Briz, target plus the Briz. The rest of it is just kind of right off the form here. 117, 84, 105. So what we're looking at here, we're looking at the 9, the 4, the 3, and the 1. Not in any particular order right now. But the 9 is 6 to 1. The 4 is 8 to 1. The 3 is 5 to 2. And the 1 is 5 to 1. And make sure I got that right. Yeah, the 2 horse right now is our greatest kind of pointing us in the direction that 2 may be a false favorite. We'll see. It's Baffert's defunded. So it's a bold move to go and try to beat this horse, but we'll see what happens. He didn't run a great race last time out in the Pacific Classic Grade 1. This is a Grade 1 at 1 1/8 miles. So it's somewhat of a comparable distance. This horse may be falling out of form, and it may be a good opportunity this race to take advantage and get one of these value plays in. So again, 1, 3, 4, and 9 in race number 8. And then finally, I skipped the 9th. The 9th was that downhill turf, and I'll just take a quick look at it and show you again why. This is a 6.5 furlong on a hillside turf, and it's the downhill where there's that long straightaway. Horses build up so much momentum. They hit the turn and come home. If I were able to pull numbers from every horse off of that particular track or course, I would have played this race. But if you notice in this particular race here, I got the 1 horse who's showing recent form, but at the same time I have nothing to pull from 6.5 downhill turf. This horse I have in May of 22. I have 1, 2, and by the way, when you're handicapping Santa Anita, if you see the asterisk next to 6.5, that means it was on that 6.5 furlong downhill turf, whereas just a regular 6.5 is on the normal inner turf here. But again, just give you an idea of why I passed on this race. Because right now I'm looking for three races. I mean, here I probably could have used these 3, but at the same time, if there's too many horses where I can't pull those numbers at, there's one and this whole model is based on the averages of 3. So that's why I skipped that race. And finally, race number 10, I tossed the 1. We have a 4, 7, 8, and 9. 9 looking like the standout. If we look at those odds real quick, on 4, 7, 8, and 9 in race 10, we do have the morning line favorite at 5 to 2. And then we have the 3 to 1. But then we also have our 2 value plays. Potential value here, 4 to 1. And then the 9 horse. Okay, 8 to 1 morning line. And as you see, the 9 horse is our top TC rating. And he's also showing up fairly well elsewhere. Okay, so that's the 4 hand-picked races from Santa Anita tomorrow. September 30th. We'll see how they go. Thanks for tuning in, and I will be reaching out shortly. Again, those of you that are watching this video for the first time, my videos, you may have to scroll back to some videos and find out some of the stuff that I'm talking about, because obviously these videos, I have a library of about 45 to 50 videos now. If you're jumping on board right now and watching this as your first video, you're probably going to be lost. Most likely are going to be lost. But if you're interested in these grids and knowing how to calculate these factors, such as the target and the target Briz, and also how to use the other models that the TC Thorough Capping Deluxe gives you, there's a link to download Thorough Capping in the description below. And there's also a link to invite link to join our Discord. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon.